welcome to the Up Podcast, raw real talk on everything young parenting.
From self-care, co-parenting, and family planning, to balancing school, work, relationships, and goals.
Together, we're challenging society's assumptions and building a safe and supportive community for young parents.
One honest conversation at a time. So join us on the journey.
Hey guys, welcome back with another Yup podcast with your favorite host, Divine.
And I'm Brandy. And today we are super excited to invite back a guest that you have met before. You've met her on the website. You have met her on our podcast. Miss Nathalea Sky. She has been a member of our Youth Advisory Council for the last couple of years. She has made endless content, video, articles, all sorts of things. So she's in and up and through Yup so much. So we're so excited to invite you back. Nathalea, can you share a little bit about yourself? Just a brief introduction for anyone who's new here.
Hey, thank you, Divine. Thank you, Brandy, for having me. It's always a pleasure. My name is Nathalea Sky. I am a mother of 6 and I'm a wife, and I entered foster care when I was 16. And I'm glad to share with you guys my experience.
Thank you so much, Nathalea, for introducing yourself and for coming back to continue the conversation. So you mentioned being in foster care, and today's episode is all about foster care, parenting through foster care, transitioning out of foster care. And so can you tell us a little bit about your journey, just, your journey through foster care and kind of how you got to this point?
Yes, I entered foster care at age 16. I could tell you that first at the beginning I was confused because I had to basically return to being a child again. I was in the street selling drugs. And being there to provide for my child, my first child. She was at the hospital. So for me, it was confusing. But then afterwards, I started to get used to what was foster care like. Like, for example, I didn't know that my foster mother was supposed to provide for whatever I needed. So at the beginning, I continued like being this independent child until I wasn't working any longer in the street. So now I didn't have money coming in as often. And then I find out through a worker that my foster mother was supposed to provide for anything I needed. And even but it was like an allowance and of 300, and I was like in shock. I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to provide with those 300 for everything for my child and for me. And she was like, no, it's for you to treat yourself and buy your daughter whatever you want. And I was in shock when she said that because I wasn't informed by my foster mother around that time. So that was like my first introduction of being to the foster care system, the obstacle, and then as well on how it's similar to what you not being with your parent and something similar. Like in my case, my mother was this Dominican lady that came with the culture, how to raise a child. And I did saw that because my foster mother was as well Dominican. So I saw where it's more of the culture of if you go through a rough life or you don't have that much independence on the adult, then that's how you grow. And I got to experience that, and I was like, wait, hold up, this doesn't feel right. This feel like I'm just getting used. But then within the process of it, that's when I got to learn a little bit more about what was foster care and what was my accomplishment within the foster care system. And at first, at the beginning, like the whole narrative of me was, oh no, she was just a drug dealer, a troublemaker that just want to be in the street, just being running away from home, until it came in the process of No, it was more to the story. Now it's my turn to say my story. Like, no, I got raped from 9 to 11. And then from there, about how my mom didn't believe me and how I had to leave out of home to maintain myself and all of that. And that I also have goals for myself and my child. I also wanted my child with me because she was still in the hospital. She stood there for 5 years. I wanted it. My goal, one of my goals was to have her with me under my care. And then the other goal was to finish school. And eventually within that process, I can't tell you like it was so difficult that I can tell you like the motivation of going to school. It was like turning off for me because now I had to worry about um dealing with mom issue, dealing with family issue, and then on top of that, focusing on getting my rapist in jail and getting my story out to these people. And within that process, I kind of lost a lot of motivation and I lost myself at one point as well.
Wow. I'm so glad that, in the midst of it all, you were still able to like make goals for yourself,
Yeah.
goals for your child, and like you didn't just talk about them. Like you're here today, and like you can probably say, like, you did that, you accomplished all of that, you set your mind to. I love that for you. So, can you kind of tell us a little bit about what it was like being an active parent while still in foster care at such a young age where you're still kind of getting parented yourself through your foster parents? Like, what did that look like as far as I'm sure you may have had some sort of rules that you've had to abide by, curfews, how did you like balance and schedule being able to go visit your daughter and also cope with being away from her?
It's a good question because I wish my foster mother had like good intention. There
Mm,
are people out there that have good intention, but in my case, um, like I say, it's the culture problem where how they grow up and they expect you to learn from those life experience that you got to face in life, right? So within that process, I can tell you, like, up from my head, I can tell you I had a moment where my foster mother has sat down and asked me, hey, how is it going with you going through this process and also parenting?
mm,
But that would have been a great question
Right.
to have it because I would have probably like say, "Hey, I want to go crazy right now. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to keep myself together because all emotions are popping up." And then at one point, I had to be together for my daughter, put together, and that was my worst challenge because even if I thought that I had it under control, there was a problem that you come into foster care with a lot of judgment from others that they don't know you, they don't know what you've been through, and they just point the finger because you just a minor and you just this child that they just rescue because you was either running away or you was just look at this troubled kid. Like at one point I had where worker was looking at me as an irresponsible parent. And I made it worse for myself because them looking at me as an irresponsible parent, for me it was like, okay, I want to fight with you because
right.
because right now I'm doing my best and you're not even realizing. You're just trying to make this narrative of me being this trouble kid and irresponsible parent, like I'm not there for my child.
Yeah.
And I remember when I sat down and I said, hey, Nat, anger isn't the solution. You're giving them more power. The more angry you get, the more irresponsible you actually look.
Mm,
So, and that was like, I believe into going to my second years where I had to sit down and tell myself I'm giving these people actually that nurture that I want to change and that I'm passionate about. I'm giving them more power. And that's because they saying the right things to trigger me to actually be what it looked like being a responsible parent. When I stopped giving power to people, that's when I started benefiting out of what hope was out there and having self-control and actually getting words across doctors or social worker with actually words and not anger and not emotional in place. When I started doing that, I could tell you I was getting listened by doctors because now I'm showing them more of my action and showing them, hey, I need help. Oh, hey, I want to learn this. Or hey, if I wanted it approved at one point for my daughter because she had so many G2 and trach and all this medication, if I wanted it approved to them that my goal was one day to have my daughter with me, I will go to the hospital during the weekend, and within that I will not let the doctor or nurses come in the room. I would take care of my daughter by myself, um and show them like, no, this is what I'm passionate about. But before, honestly speaking, every kid that is in the system, they going through so many emotions that they don't realize that the more that you have that, the more easy of a target you are because you're giving people what they want. What they are saying, it is true because you're focusing more on your emotion. And I remember going back to what it was to parent my daughter. It was like I had to show my daughter, like I remember my daughter, she don't speak or anything, and around that time she used to not move, she used to not do much. But I remember I would go and sit with my daughter and tell her, mommy love you, I want to have you with me under my care, like don't ever forget that I will fight for you, I will learn what I have to learn. And yes, it was being real with my child that wasn't understanding me at that moment, but also being real with myself and reminding myself like you truly care about this kid. Because sometimes when you parent and you in foster care, they make you feel like you don't want the best for your child when you truly are. It's just that you're going through a lot, and that's understandable to express yourself, but expressing yourself could be sometimes beneficial for you more, like you're like, oh, I'm letting it out, but then sometimes it could harm you in the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. It's, I think that stigma and shame is something we talk so much about on Yup, right? And that we talk a lot about this. We've talked about this on past episodes about mom guilt and all of this. But what people don't understand is that not only do young parents get stigma, so not only did you receive the stigma and all of the judgment and things from being a parent at 14 years old, right? But you talked about receiving stigma for being a foster care child, right? And that you did nothing to get yourself there. And I think people don't really understand that
Yeah.
children who are in foster care don't they, they don't do anything to deserve that. They don't do anything to get themselves there. And no matter what, I don't care if you're a runaway, I don't care if you had a child young, I don't care what it is. You did nothing. You're a child, right? And so just to get judgment and stigma from that identity is wild to me. But I applaud you for even, recognizing that in yourself and coming to the point where you're like, I'm not going to give the system the last say. I'm not going to let them dictate how I parent. I'm not going to let them dictate the trajectory of my life. And I'm going to really step in and I'm going to show my daughter that this is not going to be her reality. And I'm her mom and I got this. And even at a young age, people don't understand that young parents can make those big decisions, and young parents can heal, and they can grow,
Yes.
and they can change their circumstances, and they can do all the things that I bet you most people couldn't even fathom going through. And so I applaud you. I am so grateful to even hear your story, because even thinking about, I mean, my daughter was in the NICU, right? And that is nothing near the things that you went through with your daughter. But even having her in the NICU, there was so much shame, so much, like, I didn't want to tell anybody, right? I never wanted to tell anybody, because I thought, I'm a young parent and somehow people are going to think that it's my fault that she's in the NICU, because there's some phantom thing that NICU babies have something wrong with them. Either they were born early, or parent was on drugs, or something wild, right? People make up these wild narratives.
Yes.
And so I just think, I could not imagine going through it while also navigating foster care and all of that. And so thank you for sharing.
And before you go to the next
Yeah.
subject, that within that process as well, I had where my mother, because I was a young mother and ended up getting pregnant, my body wasn't developed right fully. My mom was telling me, like, oh no, your daughter was born like that because of you. So I also was coming from that place where I'm like, it was already in before I came into foster care, it was already difficult enough to actually reboot myself to what I wanted it with my child, because when I was home, I was getting where, because you got pregnant early, now this child came out like this because of you. And that guiltiness was also there, where it was like, hey, even if because getting pregnant at an early age, yeah, it does influence a little bit. Like, even the doctors have a percentage where they could tell you that, but it's not about you bringing down the person, but it's about you educating the person and the poor
Right.
knowledge of what you're saying, because now you could cause something else in that road on you trying to educate and trying to say something. You don't have the good attention, you're bringing the person more down.
Right.
So that's something like that I had to deal with. And even with the doctors, they expect you to know it, to be this responsible parent, and be like, oh, I'm ready for this kid, but you don't even, like, I have poor knowledge of what exactly it was to have a special need child, and that a kid could be born that little. Honestly
Right.
speaking, when I saw my daughter 8 ounces, for me, I was in shock. I said, what is this? What's going on? Why there's a lie? Is she coming home with me? And then I had to be notified by a doctor, like, no, your daughter is not coming home with you. And I'm like, what is this? What's going on then? I don't understand. Is this because the kids, they look like, I call it like little aliens, where they just like so little, so fragile, and
Yeah.
and I'm really thinking, like, I'm still a child, so I thought like I had an alien. That's the first thing that popped up in my head. I'm like, this doctor trying to tell me I just had an alien, because I'm over here getting ready to have a baby home. What is she?
Oh my
What is he talking about? Like, please educate me. What is going on?
goodness.
Like, did I have a human being? And I see the glasses that they put with the light for their skin to develop. And I'm like, seeing this kid, I said, what is this? And that was the first time I ever heard that a kid could come out that little.
Yeah.
And then the doctor expect you to really know what you don't know, what you didn't grow up getting knowledge of.
Mhm.
Where you're gonna get judged at home, most likely, for that child becoming that little, because you're a young parent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Bizarre.
Yeah. I think that is bizarre. I mean, and then to just get judged and stigmatized for then not even knowing how to parent and care for a NICU baby. You know, everything comes with education, and there is no guidebook to parenting, but you know, just having the support and resources could make all the difference. So I'm so glad that you kind of took advantage of your village, and you know, you asked for help. You did the research, you did the homework, and you made sure you took the steps to be that parent, to be that young adult, you know, in the midst of everything that you've experienced. So now to kind of transition a little bit to kind of where you are at now, can you tell us a little bit about how those experiences and traumas and just learning points, how that impacts you now and how that plays into how you parent now, or even just as you be an adult human being now, kind of just looking back, how does that play into your life now? All the knowledge that you learned and the challenges that you face.
Well, honestly speaking, right, like life don't end
Mm,
because of what you go through, but it actually start the wisdom that you get within that process. Like at that moment, I could tell you, I was like, I ain't gonna get out of this. I know I'm not. Why, God? Why me? I
mm,
shouldn't be. And now when I look at it, I'm like, I'm just a person that has so much wisdom from all that pain and so much to share to others. Like there is a light after that darkness. Down the tunnel is always a light. Like everything that I have learned, I try to bring it to y'all. I try to bring it to other organizations. I try to hope, like even the foster care rights, with that I have learned within that pain process, I bring it back to the young kids that are still in foster care, like letting them know, like, hey, you got rights. This is what I learned, and you don't gotta go through the roughness and the pain as much because there are people that went through it for you, like and that's something that I'm amazed to know that I could bring that back to the foster care kids. But as well, I could picture myself like probably having a travel kid, like, and then like my kid deciding to do whatever they want to do at a teenager age, and not realizing that at that teenager age is a lot of consequence, like, and especially when it's a foster care system and the children services could come involved, right? So within that process, what I do is less more controlling over my children and more knowledge given to them, more
That.
education. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, if I would have had a bunch of education, like even if I wouldn't listen to a doll or I probably wanted to do my own thing, when somebody told me something, like I had a worker where she told me my rights and I was in shock. I'm like, huh, I got rights? What? Listen, yeah, inform me more. I want to know more about this. And after I had that, I said, it's more. It's
Yeah.
more for me to benefit out of this. It's actually way more. And then I also had to where, like, for example, my foster mother needed to give me money. I thought that I was still gonna have to be independent and probably go back to hustling. But then when I got that information, I'm like, now I could step back a little bit. I now Natalie need money from you, and not me. Like when I heard that, then I look at myself how amazed I was of
mm,
my the knowledge. I was like a sponge. I'm like, oh, I want to know more. I want to know. So I think that every child that is in foster care or even outside of foster care deserve to be more knowledge given to them than more like parenting. Oh no, I want to control you. I want like
Yeah.
For example, if my kid behave bad or they do something, there's consequence that comes with that. I'm going to tell you the consequence. I can't tell you not to do it, because one thing I learned, the more that you tell someone not to do something, and even an adult, you could tell an adult, don't do this. I own my life. I know what I'm doing. Okay, then find out they went and did it, what you say. So now it's more about, go ahead and do it if that's what you want to do it. But I know I gave you the knowledge.
Yep.
So for like that, if you fall through that hole, you at least know how to get yourself out of it.
Yep.
You understand? So I think about that, because a lot of time I'm like, I'm gonna go through that hole. I don't know what she's talking about. He talking about she trying to save me. That she needs to save her life, and then find out I'm in the hole. Right now I'm in the hole, and I'm like, oh, I should have listened to such and such. Look at me in this hole now.
Yeah.
And I had to struggle to get out from that hole. And I think that all of us, we go through it where because of poor knowledge, we don't even know how to get ourselves out of some situation. Like, for example, I was in a drug addict at one point, not like a drug addict on like heroin or hard, heavy stuff, but I was taking 16 pills a day, and I was as well in Mali and doing drug. And then why didn't I did the hard stuff? Because I got the knowledge from the street and saw how people looked at after taking the drug. And I'm like, I go too far that way. I'm lost. I can't do this. But that's because I had the knowledge right there. I was seeing with my eyes what was going to happen to me if I choose that. So I think that within that process, that's the painful stuff. And also, um, saving your own children from ending up in the same system, because it does, like, when I look at my kids, they still small. So in today 18, I look at it like it is a minimum chance, a percentage that could happen, because kids don't like to get corrected. Kids think like you are a bad person because you're telling them what really goes on out there. So the more I do this and I communicate, maybe this podcast could help me to later on tell them, hey, don't forget, you already in there. Don't forget, I was sharing video about educating what is your rights or what you're supposed to do if you're in this situation. And now I could even educate my kid with this podcast. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring out there the more information that I can, the more knowledge. Listen, it's not about controlling anybody's life, but it's about, like, if you're going to make that poor decision, just know the consequence that come after it, and always get up stronger and learn from that lesson, because in one day is always a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing about you, Nathalea, is you always drop the gems. You always have such good knowledge, such good tips, such good, like, just perspective. And I think that a lot of people can grow from the things that you shared. One thing that I kind of want to spend a little bit of a second on is something that you said, just kind of repeating itself, right? Like the cycle's repeating itself, and just this idea that um, there's always a chance that, especially children who come out of foster care could repeat that. But can you talk briefly just about what that looks like? Because I think for some people, especially young parents, sometimes are heavily surveilled. Like, you're a young parent. I remember having my daughter, and since she was in the NICU, they said they were sending a social worker to the room to talk to me. And I was like, nope, no, you're not. You're not sending a social worker in here. And to me, I just thought social worker meant you're taking my baby for what? Because she's in the NICU or because I'm young? Like, for what? And so every time they would try and send the social worker, I would be gone. I would be seeing my baby. I would be wherever, because what I was not going to do is talk to a social worker, right? Now, fast forward, I end up going to school for social work, right? And I see that it could be so many other things, but the system has been set up in a way that there is so much stigma around social workers, around, child protective services and things like that. And I know that you have talked about this on the website a lot, and I know that you've talked about this with us a lot. But can you just, briefly share what that transition looked like what it looks like to have social workers around, how you turn that around, how you turn that relationship between social workers from a negative thing where it was kind of like anxiety provoking or nerve wracking to have them around to something that benefited you. And then just how you navigate that as a young parent, because again, you are doing this incredible job of not repeating that cycle, right? You're like, it stops with me, my kids, I'm parenting my kids, I am not going to, stay attached to this system. But how did you get there? Because I can imagine how scary it could be to just have this like shadow, you know?
Yeah, one thing I could tell you is, at the beginning, I was making it my identity. My trauma was becoming me. You understand? And I had to realize, I'm like, I don't want the pain that I went through. I don't want it to be my identity. So that's where you focus on where, because it does. A pain inside could eat you alive, and you don't even realize it. You could become the person who hurt you because you're hurt.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I said, listen, this is something that is coming now in between who I truly want to be. And I've been coming people that hurt me, because people that hurt people. So when I realized it within my partner, like, I'm like, you don't know me, you don't know what I went through, blah 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 blah. And it's like, hey, sometimes the person don't have to go through what you've been through for the person to actually help you. When I realized that, I say, yeah, this is a problem. Or when I realized that, to take accountability that I was hurt, and say, you was hurt, you was damaged, you are damaged, but just say where now you lead to. Like, you can say, I'm hurt, but now you're affecting your whole entire environment, your whole entire self. Because I was drinking and thought that because I was waking up and making dinner and making breakfast and making all this stuff and getting my kids to school. That was it. That was all I had to do to protect. But then I was trying to protect them from the outside, the ACS and everything. But then as well, I had to protect them from me, because I'm hurt. I can't, and you can say you love someone when you haven't healed from that.
Yeah.
And true love comes from you actually working on that healing, that process. And even sometime, if you don't like it, and it's something like maybe bringing up those memories, you gotta be careful as well, because um why are you bringing those memory up unless you're benefiting from it, and you're not making it as, I'm gonna go drink because I just spoke about this situation, or I'm gonna just make up an excuse why I'm going through all of this, and why I'm messing up my whole entire adult life, and make up the excuse that I got hurt, because now you're just being like everybody else. So when I saw that within myself and that pattern, I said, I got to do something different than what I'm doing. And then with the workers, honestly speaking, they also had their I honestly, I could tell you, I gave them tests. My workers, they had to accept that I wasn't a kid any longer. Yes, my age was a child, but everything that I was doing to provide for me and my daughter was an adult situation. So
Right.
I'm like, you focusing about me being a child and focusing about helping me, focusing about what's gonna benefit me, the relationship that we're gonna build. Stop worrying about everything else, when reality of it, you're just wasting my time. Like, this is my time. This is who I gotta benefit now, because at a certain age you're gonna be out of my life. So while I can, let me benefit. Don't judge me for anything that I have done, but help me, give me the hope that I need, because you're there for a reason. So when the workers that had their own agenda, I did not open up to them. And I never understood that. Like, it's just like you come in with your own agenda, and that's not being human. Like, if I had to tell my worker, like, if you ask me how my day is going and I say I'm having a rough day, I'm acting like a whole victim to you. Why is your day some information that you can give me? You don't have a bad day? You have a bad day. You are a human being like me. Tell me about your bad day. That's how you build relationship with someone. Not saying I'm here what with a little notebook. What is it about your life? Tell me. Tell me what you're doing. No, that's not really gonna get anywhere, anybody. Then more saying and admitting like, yeah, I had a bad day. You don't have to go too much into your life and say, oh, so much information to the kid, but you could acknowledge that you had a bad day, or acknowledge that you had a broken family member that doesn't listen, that didn't do this, that is not perfect. Like that person could say, oh, this person somewhat has something similar to me. You understand? Because kids that are from foster care, they are like a computer. You think that those kids are so broken, and they testing you because they come from pain. So they want to know what you capable of. How you riding the boat with me? Oh, you just coming here to get information out of me? All right, whatever. I'ma just run away. But then when they see that you're giving them also that insight, and you keep on showing up for them. I had a worker where she kept on showing up for me. She kept on calling me, and I'm like, this lady crazy. I keep on telling her not to call me, and she keep on calling me. What's wrong with this lady? She don't know rejection. She don't got no feeling. She keep on calling me. Hi, Natalie. How you doing? Are you okay? How is the kid? I'm like, is she bugging out? I just cursed her out, and she's still calling me. And after I saw that, I said, oh, this person is riding the boat with me. This person want to help me. This person is annoying for a reason.
Yeah.
No matter what I told her, she was still calling that phone.
Yeah.
At 3 in the morning, I remember I had an ACS case. She pick up, hello. She an old lady, so I'm thinking she knock out. I'm like, oh, Natalie, you calling this old lady? Like, what's gonna happen now? Hi, Natalie, what's going on? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to wake you up. She said, what is going on? I said, okay, lady, I have ACS in my house. Do you want to help me with this? She's like, yeah, put them on the phone. When she did that, I said, yo, 3 in the morning? That's somebody that cared for me. When somebody does that, remind you, I don't have that. I don't have where I could call my family member at 3 in the morning. They'll be like, listen, I'm asleep. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Or they might be like, oh, that's Natalie. It's okay. And leave the phone and continue sleeping without thinking about any emergency. So when I saw that, I said, I got to benefit out of these people. And how am I going to benefit out of these people? It's everything about proving them that what they heard about you isn't who you are.
Yeah.
And it's not about you talking, because talking, that's gonna just be expressing your feeling. But showing them the picture that is in your head, because you have a good picture that you wanna be challenging life, and you wanna continue moving on, and you wanna come a warrior out of that challenge, that you have to prove people that you are the right person to help. And that doesn't mean that you're gonna show yourself to people like multiple times. I had to show doctors, I had to show workers, I had to show teacher, I had to show a bunch of people that and I was tired at one point. I said, how many people and I'm gonna show? How many people I have to show myself to? But that's the way that I got hope because of that, because I didn't give up on showing them what I want, what life looked like for me in the future.
Yeah.
I love
Oh,
that,
so
Nathalea.
good.
I always love the quote, like, you are the author of your story.
Yes.
Every choice that you make, like, you're setting that path for yourself. And again, just piggybacking off of Brandy, like, and working with you for so long. Like, we as a Yup team are so proud of you. Like, you continue to inspire, you continue to change others' life by changing your own at the same time. And like, not a lot of people have the capability to do that. And you just wear that cape with grace and make it look so easy when I know it's not. And it's just like, really, like, pat yourself on the back, get yourself a kiss on the forehead, you deserve the world, and
Yeah.
you currently like give your kids the world, and I'm just so happy for you. And
I hope to see. My biggest dream is, a lot of people tell me, especially like my poor side of the family back in Dominican Republic, they say, "Oh, you must be getting money and all of that," and I'm like, you know what, money that is not satisfying to me, but that I could hear that one child could come and not even come to me, but that I could hear a story or see them talk about their story, how they came out to be such a great person, that they have kids and their family are safe. That is a great rewarded for me. Or that my kids cannot end up in foster care because they because of poor knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nathalea. I echo everything that Divine said. You are incredible. I get so excited whenever we talk or whenever you write a new article or whatever it is. Um, I just want people to know, as we kind of close out, I want people to know that all of us are accessible, right? If you want to leave a comment, if you have a question for
Mhm.
Nathalea, we can get it to her. Um, connect with her on the website, connect with other community members on the website. We have content on foster care. We have content on parenting children and navigating these systems. And so check it out. We are here to support you. Honestly, there's so much there because we know that young parents go through so many different things. And so, whatever you need, you will find it. If you don't find it, we will make it. So, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for just being here and sharing all of your knowledge. Until next time,
yeah, thank you.
bye.
If you enjoyed the Up podcast, please subscribe, share, and leave a comment.
And visit youngunitedparents.org for the information, community, and resources young moms and dads need to thrive.